What's going on, you Prius driving virgins? My name is Ryan Peters. This is Stuck in the Catch Fence. Want to have a conversation with you. And number one, want to congratulate you. I know that it's very, very hard for NASCAR fans and, NASCAR enthusiasts to click on a thumbnail to actually watch the video. So congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You've made it this far. Not saying all NASCAR fans need their hand held, but just, probably 85% of you on Facebook groups. So again, thank you for jumping in. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail and wanted to jump in to see exactly what I had to say. We're talking about what's recently happened, especially when it comes to Hendrick Motorsports, with now Alex Bowman being hurt. He had a fractured vertebrae, and that was from wrecking in a sprint car. This is now the second driver that has been injured when it comes to having an incident that is off the NASCAR track. And unfortunately for Hendrick Motorsports or Hendrick Motorsports fans, it has now affected their team twice. So I wanted to jump in. I want to see what you guys thought as well. Should NASCAR owners do more when it comes to policing or really restricting their drivers from doing things off the track? So I wanted to get that out. I know we have a lot of NASCAR drivers that do these type of things, whether it's sprint car racing, SRX racing, like we'll have with Brad Keselowski and Haley Deegan and a few other NASCAR drivers, or in the case of Chase Elliott snowboarding. I mean, there's obviously any way in your life something can happen and you can end up getting hurt. My favorite driver, Kyle Busch, not that long ago, was hurt in an Xfinity race. Should those be restricted because they're now having an opportunity to prevent you from racing on Sundays? So the short answer, and I will get to the short answer first, is do I think that NASCAR owners should do something when it comes to restricting their drivers for only doing things that could possibly harm them on Sundays? No, I don't. And we talked about this a little bit on the weekly show, but I wanted to get more in depth. And right now, you currently have Hendrick Motorsports with the best driver, at least overall in my mind, in the entire sport, and that is Kyle Larson. In the entirety of motorsports, that should be, better put. Kyle Larson, to me, has become this type of driver, at least in the NASCAR setting, because of what he's able to do off the track, being a dirt driver, getting in any type of car. He just won his 7th class at Eldora, and I think Rick Hendrick, knowing and actually using his typical policing methods, doesn't like his drivers driving off the track when it comes to these other types of circuits. And I think that was one of the reasons why Kyle Larson ended up going there, is because Rick Hendrick went against his better will's the way to put it, but, his recent history of how he treats his drivers when it comes to racing off track. And Joe has said this, and I have said this, that these drivers, they start out from February, and that's if you do no tire testing. That is literally just if you get into the NASCAR when the official season starts, all the way until November. And for them to be restricted only to doing what we as fans want them to do and not be able to live their lives, I think is just a complete injustice to what we and everybody else do on a weekly, daily basis. And I also think it's very hypocritical. I think that we are, maybe not in today's economy, but most of us are employed, and we do things that inhibit or possibly hinder our ability to complete our own job by the actions that we take. Should I be playing basketball at my age with the possibility of hurting my knee, knowing that I'm a therapist and can transfer people? No. That would completely prevent me from doing my job if I was to get hurt playing basketball. Do you go ride your side-by-side and do some really stupid stuff that could, prevent you from doing your job? Whatever it is that we do on a daily basis, we remove ourselves from our occupation. I think that's very key for NASCAR drivers as well, because it is a long season and it is a more weekly based than I think even some other sports are. And I think that gets lost a lot of times. And I think that if we, as the fan, are able to remove ourselves from our occupation, I don't understand why the NASCAR driver, the employee, is not able to do the same thing. That being said, it doesn't mean you can just go out and do stupid things, like drinking and driving or things of that nature. Well, I like to drink and drive. Well, throw your beer out and I understand. We all got to get somewhere, so if you've had a few to drink and you got to get home, get home. I'm just kidding. Throw it out the window, especially if it's in a blue can. But there's different things that we are able to do and that we're capable of doing that can help prevent, possibly getting hurt. The difference is these drivers are held to a higher standard. Number one, because the money that they generate, I guarantee most of us watching do not generate the same type of revenue or don't have the same type of meaning, or more importantly, aren't one of the 37 best at whatever we do in our regular occupation at the same time. But if you do start policing down on what these drivers can and cannot do, I think it actually will harm them from doing what they do best. If you take Kyle Larson and prevent him from going in a sprint car, I think that will harm his ability to drive on a race car track. If you take Alex Bowman out of a sprint car, if you take Brad Keselowski out of the SRX whenever he wants to do that this year, NASCAR has already done everything that they can to reduce the amount of time that these drivers spend in their own car. Don't be surprised now whenever they want to go drive something else. It used to not be that way when you're having, 2 to 3 practice sessions, an entire qualifying session, a happy hour. All those things have been completely removed in the name of COVID and saving money, if you want to believe that or not. But now these drivers are finding more time for themselves, and they want to do what they love most, and that's get behind the wheel of something that goes really, really fast and is really difficult to drive. So NASCAR itself has really kind of created this monster when it comes to reducing the amount of time a driver can spend in a car, and a driver saying, I still need to hone my craft, and not everybody is William Byron and is going to jump behind iRacing and think that's good enough. A lot of drivers want to, especially get that adrenaline going. They want to see how hard it really is to do something. And I think that's really, really good, and it leads to the overall personality, that adrenaline rush of why they're great drivers, why they're the 37 best in the entire world to do so. So I think restricting them not only harms the sport because of their inability to continue racing, master their craft, put themselves in situations maybe that a NASCAR isn't able to do on race day, but they're able to do while they're practicing another sport. I think you also are having the ability to restrict a driver from enjoying said sport because you are making it more of a 9 to 5 versus something that is really, really tough to do and be at the peak all the time, especially with passionate fans like myself and you critiquing at all times. There has to be a way to step back. There has to be a way to clear your head. And if that's going to a short track, I think that's a good thing. I think drivers participating in short track activities is a good thing. I think that's the way that you grow the sport as well. Seeing Kyle Busch, my favorite driver, race at Rush County, which none of you guys have heard of that are outside the state of Indiana at the fairgrounds, is a great way for a kid to go, Dad, who's that? I want to follow him because I know he's a professional driver, but he's here racing in front of me and I only had to pay $15 to get in. That's a way to grow this sport because NASCAR is having such a hard time finding a way to grow this sport because it popularizes drivers that don't do these things, that they themselves want to popularize the sport, even though it's not from winning. It's not from being good. It's not from having a personality. Yes, Ryan Blaney is a decent driver. He is one of Fox's NASCAR top 6 drivers when it comes to showing the promo for the next week. Ryan Blaney does not move the needle more often than not personality-wise. So how do you grow this sport? You put them in an opportunity to race in front of local fans, get a connection that way, because it does not take a lot to do that when it comes to being at a local scene, taking your kid to sit there right in front of you. You're not able to do this in any other sport. It's not like you're going to go watch a pickup game of Kevin Durant. Yeah, maybe once in a blue moon, but not the opportunity every single time. Like I'm going to Berlin Raceway to watch Superstar Racing Experience because I have that opportunity to be right there in front of the best currently and previously. No other sport offers that outside of maybe one instance during training camp in the NFL, or maybe an instance or two during spring training. But literally, I've had a conversation at a local dirt track with Kyle Busch for 10 minutes, and it solidified me as a fan. What I thought of Kyle Busch on TV was then personified, at least in a personal experience at home. That's an opportunity to grow your sport from a grassroots, from a dirt track style that NASCAR has had a really hard time figuring out and doing itself. So the more restrictions you put on these drivers, the least they're going to love their said sport. Or they could be like Carl Edwards and during their prime remove themselves from their said sport. We've already seen what happens when a driver removes himself, unfortunately, like Chase Elliott did. What can happen to the sport? It can literally lose a tenth of its viewership immediately. And NASCAR doesn't need to put the reins on these drivers anymore. They're already taking away the horsepower that they want. They're already taking away the driver time that they want. They already force them to do things that other sports don't have to do, and doing sponsorship calls and being present for these type of things to sell a product that just isn't their ability to drive a race car. Let them have their time. Let them do what they love the most, and that's trying to do something very, very difficult that 99.99% of the population can't do, and see if they're really, really good about it. You're not going to see a baseball player go play not hole ball with amateurs. Amateurs, I put that term loosely because that's typically what your local dirt track driver is, an amateur compared to these professionals. You're literally getting to see the product of the best in the world go to a small-time track and seeing these small-time drivers that may be local champions race against the best of the best. And that is a measuring stick that no other sport guarantees or has the ability of doing. And it works out perfectly if NASCAR and its owners do not intervene, because that's what this sport really, really needs to get kids, to get butts in seats, and to form an alliance with both who you love on Sunday and who you're able to see in your backyard racing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday throughout the week. So please, NASCAR owners, do not do anything to restrict your drivers from doing things off the track. It is something that I think would be absolutely terrible. Number one, for your competition, the competitive nature of your drivers, and number two, for the growth of the sport. So if you enjoyed this video, I ask just a couple things. Like and subscribe. That's the easiest way to see more of these type of videos where I sit down and talk to you and get your opinion as well. We're also running a giveaway to get to 500 subscribers. If you would like yourself, as you can tell, a Kenny Irwin and a Kyle Busch, or whatever diecast you would like, let me know. All you have to do is let me know your favorite driver in the comments below. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know. And you'll also be able to enter this giveaway once we get to 500 subscribers. I will be giving you a diecast of your choice. So that's a way to do it as well. Again, we're excited for Dover. Hopefully Mother Nature will stay in tow. It looks like the start time has been moved up to 1 o'clock. I'm not sure that's really going to help. If you like these type of videos where it's just one-on-one, we sit down and have a conversation, let me know that as well. Would love to connect with more of you, the NASCAR fan base. But that's going to wrap it up here. It is Checkered Flag. This has been Stuck in the Catch Fence. We'll talk to you next time.